Martin, we've seen you for quite a time in a futuristic setting. What's it like acting in science fiction as opposed to contemporary or historical drama?
Well, today is an exception to the rule because we're sitting on the back lot of Pinewood Studios, and it's one of the few times we've come to a planet that's compatible with our own. It's kind of interesting. Unlike most contemporary television, like Kojak or The Streets of San Francisco, where you know pretty much what your adversary is. A New York policeman in 5 years' time pretty much knows what he's going to run into. I mean, the variations on the theme. I mean, if you're a New York policeman, there aren't too many surprises in store for you. Whereas in this kind of a show, traveling and hurtling through space, there's your adversary is something mind-boggling every week, and as a result, to relate to that on a level that is not that far removed from our own, because 1999 is only 23 years into the future. I mean, we're not out there by choice. In fact, technologically and emotionally, we're not really ready to go into deep space. It's an accident that causes us to do that. It's kind of interesting. I mean, there's an anthological aspect to it, which is kind of adventurous and fun. I mean, I think that's a very enjoyable aspect of the show.
It's your work. Do you also have a personal, private interest in science fiction?
Well, I've always read it. I mean, not to the exclusion of other things. I mean, I grew up with H.G. Wells and Verne and Ray Bradbury and Asimov. But I read a lot of things, and it's part of what I've always read. I think it's a great literary form because a writer in a few sentences or a few paragraphs can create incredible worlds. One of the problems with doing filming science fiction is not to disappoint. In other words, when you describe a planet with red sky and red water, to have the budget, let's say, to allow for not to disappoint. Sometimes in the translation to film, you're often disappointed because radio and the literary form often allows for more imagination. I think one of the interesting things about this show, walking onto a new set that's been built, is not to be disappointed as a performer. And hopefully the audience, the sun is going away, hopefully the audience won't be disappointed as well. Well, I think they're probably much more exciting than they were in the first series. And I think the thing that I like best is that there's much more humanity written into the series, thanks to the addition of Freddie Freiberger to our family. And I think there's more humor. I think the first series had a lot of very good things going for it, but I think it did lack some of the things that I felt were essential and to people. For instance, Barbara and I, Dr. Russell and I, have a much clearer adult, physical, emotional relationship, and there's a lot of humor in the relationship. I find that this year, for instance, the dialogue is not interchangeable. It's a fun form. It's an exciting form, and I think it also allows for a lot of allegorical aspects, which a lot of contemporary drama doesn't permit.
Most of the time we see you on the screen, you've got a lot of weight to show.
Yeah, but as a form, it's fun. I think doing Hamlet's fun, and he's got an awful lot of weight on his shoulders. King Lear is a great deal of fun. Eugene O'Neill is probably the most fun an actor can have. And I think you run through more emotion and more kinds of things in one evening than some people do in a lifetime in those kinds of plays. So I don't think you'll ever find an actor complaining about weight on his shoulders.
Martin, can I ask you about
really come out of my character, whereas last year a lot of things could have been said by anybody, and I think that particular aspect is good. There's a lot of cute and funny things. The addition of Catherine Schell as our resident alien and Tony Anhalt, I mean, and their relationship is a very interesting one, and a fun one in addition. I mean, and in times of duress, people do summon up humor, and the humor is particular to the people as opposed to just being general humor. I mean, they're not one-liners that are just thrown in for laughs. They're the kind of things that come out of people when they're in trouble, and they're the kind, let's say, the kind of things we say are much more in keeping with human beings in a situation that is filled with all kinds of anxiety.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Well, Bob, we've spent quite a long time now here at Pinewood. Can you tell us briefly your average day?
Tell you briefly my average day. Well, it starts very early in the morning. I'm picked up about 6:20 in the morning, which is all well and good in the summertime because it's light and pretty. Very dismal and lonesome in the wintertime because, as you know, it's very dark at that time. I then in the winter also leave here in the dark, so I never do see the daylight when I'm filming here in the wintertime. Now, I've told you when I get up and when I get here, but I haven't told you anything about the middle of it. Obviously, it's makeup, hair, first thing in the morning. A lot of looking at script to see what it is I'm going to be shooting that day, though, of course, I've read it before and know what it is. I go over it in the morning as well. And then it's the wonder of filmmaking, which is a constant putting together of little bits of pieces of scenes all day long, sometimes very difficult ones, sometimes not very difficult ones. And broken up by stopping twice for tea, once for lunch. What else can I tell you? I don't know how else to put it, really.
What's it like being the First Lady of Space?
My function in relation to it, being the First Lady, as you said, in space, I haven't thought of it that way as such. It's nice. I don't know quite how to fill that in for you.
Well, I see you in terrible situations where you're facing aliens and diseases. Obviously, in the series, you've got an awful lot of problems on your hands. What's it like always dealing with terrible problems in space?
Of course, that's the nature of doing any dramatic piece. A dramatic piece consists of any number of crises. That's what you have to have for it to play. It's great. I wouldn't want my life to be like that. It would be too complicated. But the more inventive and the more exciting those crises can be, the more we feel we've done what we've set out to do.
But I gather in the new series we'll have a chance of seeing you relaxing now and again.
We've managed to incorporate in this bunch. We're now shooting the 15th one of our new episodes of 24. And I think the first year was spent a lot finding our way just in the material itself, trying to define the characters, not being terribly successful in that area, being successful in other areas.
And are we going to see any development in the relationship between the commander?
The commander and the doctor, who were sort of looking at each other across long corridors last year, have gotten much more, what's a good word? What's a nice word? They're crazy about each other. How's that? And it does play out. We've now focused on the relationship with the people. We've found where to pull in humor. And generally speaking, have a good time in between the dramas. And that's been very rewarding for all of us. It was what we were trying to do last year and couldn't find a way to shape it in or pull it in. And it's kind of great having a second chance to do that. We feel very good about what we've come up with this year.
Barbara, you were telling me about relationships. In terms of relationships, what's it like working so close to your husband?
Well, we've done it before and liked it. We did it in Mission Impossible for 3 years. And that was not a planned situation. It was something that occurred. And in doing it, we found that it worked very well. Pardon me. So we then were looking for something to do together. And many things were suggested to us, most of which lacked very much interest to us. And this particular project came along, and it was very exciting. The whole idea of it, the concept of it, the Andersons, the people involved, Lou Grade, and we then rose to that, and that's how we are here again working together. It's an unusual situation. Some people would find it very difficult, I'm sure, and nor would I suggest it for anybody. Say, oh, want to know a great thing to do? It would depend on the people and how they found it.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Catherine, your appearance is slightly different to the way we saw you recently with the Pink Panther. Why is that?
In Pink Panther, I played a human, and in this, I'm playing an alien. I'm playing a psychon. You don't know what a psychon is? No, I don't blame you. It's a planet that they come across, from Moonbase Alpha as the moon just sweeps through space. They come across a planet called Psychon. Sorry, these are babies that are going around me. And they're looking for a particular mineral, which their sensors have picked up that the planet contains this mineral. And they go to explore, and all sorts of weird and wonderful things happen to them, and some awful things as well. And amongst them is they meet up with me, and the planet is about to explode. And I'm telling you in about that little. And as all of that happens, they rescue me. And this is how I become the resident alien of Moonbase Alpha.
And I believe you have some rather special powers.
Oh, yes. I have the power of molecular transformation, which means that at any time I can transform myself into anything that's alive. I mean, it could be a tree, it could be a plant, it could be a carrot, or all sorts of animals, other people, other space creatures. Whatever I can concentrate on, which is alive, I can transform myself into.
So what sort of things will we see you doing?
Well, I've been a gorilla. I've been King Kong. I've been a black leopard, various birds, beautiful sort of like hawk type birds. I've been a mouse, a beetle. I've been a tiger, a lion. Those are the animals. A dog, several kinds of dogs actually, and space creatures, weird, sort of strange, wonderful creatures.
Can you tell me what it's like as an actress to join a fairly established company?
Well, I was a little bit lucky with this one because I did do one episode on the last series, so I knew Martin and Barbara. I also knew the producer because of that, but they're all a tremendous group to work with, so it's quite easy to fit in, and everybody sort of has made their own place within it, and it's been very comfortable in that respect.
Can I ask you what you're doing here today?
What am I doing here today? I'm about to turn into a fox today. If you can see that animal behind me, that thing with the funny horns, I try and slip past it by becoming a fox. That's what I'm doing today.
We're going to look forward to seeing that. Catherine, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.